Stop chasing. How letting go draws success to you. Most of us are running, not physically, but psychologically. We're chasing something: money, love, status, peace, purpose, believing that if we just run fast enough, hard enough, long enough, we'll eventually arrive at a destination called success. We're sold this idea from the moment we're old enough to understand language. Hustle culture glorifies it. Social media reinforces it. Even our education system is built on the premise that we must constantly strive to be more, do more, get more. But what if this entire framework is not just flawed, it's backward? What if success doesn't come from the chase at all? What if, paradoxically, the very act of chasing pushes what we want further away? Let's start with a question. Have you ever wanted something so badly that it consumed your thoughts? You visualized it. You obsessed over it. You built your identity around getting it. And yet, somehow, it never materialized, or if it did, it didn't bring the satisfaction you thought it would. That's not a personal failure. That's a clue, or a philosophical crack in the illusion. Because the human mind, when locked in pursuit, actually creates resistance. By chasing, we affirm a state of lack. We say to the universe, to ourselves, I don't have this, and therefore I am incomplete. And the more we feed that narrative, the more we reinforce the very state we're trying to escape.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Now, this isn't some vague, mystical idea. It's grounded in psychology and ancient wisdom alike. Carl Jung understood this when he said, "What you resist persists." The more you push, the more reality pushes back. Eastern philosophies like Taoism echo this truth. The Tao does not strive, and yet everything is accomplished. The moment you force, you obstruct. The moment you grasp, you lose. It's not about laziness. It's about alignment. There's a difference between action and attachment. One flows, the other clings. Think about water. It doesn't chase. It doesn't demand. Yet it shapes mountains, nourishes life, and finds its way through the smallest crevices. That's power without force. It teaches us that surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. And yet, here we are, sprinting through life like we're being chased by something we can't name. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's shame. Maybe it's the belief that unless we're always moving forward, we're failing. But let me ask you, what if the thing you're running from is the very stillness that would bring you peace? Here's where it gets even deeper. When we chase, we tend to chase from a place of ego. The ego says, I'll be worthy when I achieve this. It turns goals into conditions for self-acceptance. And so, we never arrive. We get the job, and then we want the title. We get the title, and then we want the recognition. It's a treadmill with no off switch. But when we let go not of effort, but of attachment, we shift everything. We begin to act from wholeness instead of deficiency. And action from wholeness is magnetic. It draws people, opportunities, and ideas toward us because we're no longer broadcasting desperation. We're embodying presence. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means releasing the inner grip that says, this must happen or I'll fall apart. It means trusting that you are enough, right now, even before the outcome. And ironically, it's often that very trust that brings the outcome to you. Because success isn't something you catch, it's something you align with. And alignment requires stillness, clarity, and a willingness to let go of control. Think of the people you admire most, those who seem to move through life with grace and power. Are they frantic? Are they grasping? Or is there a calmness to them, a quiet confidence that doesn't need to prove anything? That's not an accident. That's the result of inner work, of releasing the noise that says more is always better, faster is always smarter. It's the result of letting go of the chase. So here's the paradox to sit with. The more you chase something as if it's missing, the more you push it away. But when you stop chasing, not by becoming passive, but by becoming still, you create space. And in that space, life has room to meet you halfway. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped getting in your own way. In the next part, we'll dig into the mechanics of how this works. We'll explore the psychological and philosophical foundations behind this principle, the science of resistance, the metaphysics of intention, and the way your subconscious beliefs shape what you attract. You'll begin to see that letting go isn't magical thinking, it's a disciplined form of clarity. A shift in how you relate to your desires and, more importantly, how you relate to yourself. The invisible wall, how resistance blocks everything you want. If chasing is the surface problem, resistance is the structure underneath. It's the invisible wall between you and the life you want. And here's the part that most people miss. Resistance isn't created by the world. It's created by the self. It's internal. It's subtle. And it's deeply tied to the way we relate to our desires. The moment we define something as essential to our happiness, we introduce friction. We create a split inside ourselves between where we are and where we think we should be. And that gap becomes tension, and that tension is resistance. Have you ever noticed how when you really want something, it often eludes you? But when you finally give up, let go, or stop caring, that very thing shows up unexpectedly, effortlessly, even strangely. That's not coincidence. That's the anatomy of resistance dissolving. Because when we want something too much, when we attach to it, obsess over it, make it a condition for our self-worth, we create pressure. That pressure contracts our energy, narrows our awareness, and blocks the natural flow of life. We're no longer open, we're gripping. And life doesn't respond well to grasping hands. It responds to open palms. Psychologically, this is profound. Our subconscious mind is always listening to the stories we tell ourselves. If you constantly say, "I need this to be happy," your subconscious hears, "I am not happy." If you say, "I'll be complete when I get this," your subconscious responds, "I am incomplete." It then works tirelessly to maintain that identity. Because your subconscious doesn't care about your goals, it cares about coherence. It wants your outer world to match your inner beliefs. If your beliefs are rooted in lack, fear, desperation, that's the reality it will continue to create, even if your conscious mind wants the opposite. This is why letting go is so powerful. Not because it's some mystical surrender to fate, but because it rewrites the internal narrative. It tells your subconscious, "I'm already whole. I trust the process. I don't need this to define me." And from that space, your mind, emotions, and behavior shift. You become more relaxed, more intuitive, more aligned. You start noticing opportunities you were too tense to see before. You move with flow instead of force. You say the right things without overthinking them. You act from clarity, not compulsion. And people feel that. The world feels that. The wall of resistance begins to dissolve. Let's take a real-world example. Think of someone trying to find love. the more they seek it from a place of "I need someone to validate me." The more they attract relationships that reflect their insecurity, or worse, they repel potential partners because that energy feels heavy, desperate, and needy. But when that same person does the inner work, lets go of the chase, finds peace in solitude, and lives from a place of grounded self-worth, something shifts. Suddenly, they're not chasing love, they're radiating something magnetic. People feel safe around them, seen, inspired, and love flows in naturally. Not because they forced it, but because they stopped blocking it. This applies to everything: wealth, creativity, career, healing. A resistance is the voice that says, "It has to happen now, or I'll fall apart." Letting go is the voice that says, "I trust that what's meant for me is already on its way, and I don't need to suffer while I wait." One contracts, the other expands. One chokes the moment, the other breathes into it. So ask yourself, where in your life are you gripping? What outcome are you so attached to that it's creating stress, tension, and fear? What would happen if you released your timeline, your obsession, your need for certainty? What would happen if you let go, not by giving up, but by stepping back and trusting that what's truly aligned with you doesn't need to be chased, it needs to be received? In the next part, we'll explore how this principle plays out in your daily actions. We'll dig into the paradox of intentional detachment, how to still take action without clinging to outcomes. You'll learn why let go energy is not passive, but incredibly active, and how it becomes a magnet for the very things you once tried so hard to grasp. The paradox of effort, why letting go is the most powerful action at first glance. Letting go seems passive, like surrendering or giving up, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Letting go is not laziness, it's precision. It's focus. It's a kind of effort that moves differently. Instead of flailing against life, it flows with it. Instead of forcing action from fear, it chooses action from clarity. This is the paradox that most of us never learn. The most powerful action you can take is often the one that begins with release. Not because you're doing less, but because you've stopped doing what doesn't work. We've been conditioned to believe that effort and results are linearly connected, that the harder we push, the more we'll get. But in reality, effort without alignment is just noise. It's busyness dressed up as productivity. It's spinning your wheels in the mud and then wondering why you're not moving forward. Letting go doesn't mean you stop acting, it means you stop overacting. You stop chasing outcomes like they're trophies and start asking deeper questions. Why am I doing this? Am I creating from fear or from inspiration? Am I moving because it's right or because I'm trying to prove something? That shift changes everything. It turns your energy from scattered to concentrated, from desperate to intentional. You begin to work not from a place of compensation, but from a place of contribution. You're not trying to fill a hole in your identity anymore, you're trying to express something real, something whole. That's why the results of aligned action are often far greater than those of forced action. Because aligned action is like planting seeds in fertile soil. Forced action is like planting seeds in concrete and demanding they grow. Think about the moments in your life when things just clicked. When you weren't forcing anything, but everything was moving. Where the right people showed up, the right words came out, the right decisions just felt obvious. And those weren't accidents. Those were moments of alignment. Moments when your effort matched the rhythm of life instead of resisting it. That's the kind of effort that letting go creates. It doesn't remove responsibility, it sharpens it. But you still show up, You still do the work, but you let go of the emotional baggage that says, this has to happen exactly the way I want, or I'm not okay. And that detachment is what makes your effort pure, free from distortion, free from the ego's obsessive need to control every variable. And here's the irony: when you let go of controlling the outcome, you often achieve better outcomes. Not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped clinging. The energy you used to waste on worry, self-doubt, micromanagement, it gets redirected into presence, creativity, and trust. That's the kind of energy that builds empires, writes masterpieces, and creates meaningful change, not because it's pushing, but because it's pulled by something deeper. Let me challenge you. What's an area in your life where you've been pushing too hard? Where effort has turned into anxiety and action has turned into obsession? What would happen if you stepped back, not to quit, but to recalibrate? What would happen if you trusted that your worth is not defined by how much you achieve, but by how aligned you are with what truly matters? Letting go doesn't mean you stop dreaming. It means you stop gripping your dreams so tightly that you strangle them. It means you trust that your role is to plant, to water, to nurture, but not to control the weather. But that's the universe's job, and it's been doing it a lot longer than you have. In the final part, we'll bring everything together. We'll look at what it means to live from a place of inner stillness while still pursuing big, bold goals. We'll explore how letting go doesn't just attract success, it transforms you into the kind of person who no longer needs to chase it in the first place. Becoming the magnet, how stillness attracts what striving never could. There comes a moment, if you've truly walked this path, when the idea of chasing anything starts to feel foreign. Not because you've lost your ambition, but because you've discovered something deeper than ambition: alignment. You no longer need to run after success like it's some distant, elusive creature. You realize something radical: success, love, peace, creativity. They're all drawn to who you are being, not just what you are doing. And who you are being is shaped not by your hustle, but by your inner state. Stillness doesn't mean inactivity. It means presence, awareness, a kind of grounded clarity that turns you into a magnet, not a beggar. Think about the people who light up a room without saying a word. The ones whose calm is louder than other people's noise. They're not chasing, they're embodying. They've made peace with uncertainty. They've stopped gripping outcomes like lifelines. And in doing so, they've become profoundly attractive, not just in a romantic sense, but in the way the world responds to them. Opportunities find them. People trust them. Ideas flow to them. Why? Because they've stopped radiating lack and started radiating wholeness. This is the power of letting go. It shifts your frequency. When you stop chasing, you begin to receive. Not because you've given up on desire, but because you've dissolved the desperation that was blocking it. You're no longer operating from "I need this to feel okay." You're operating from "I already am okay, and now I'm open to what's next." That shift is everything. It's the difference between running towards something and standing so fully in yourself that life can't help but meet you there. But here's the final twist: the moment you reach that place of stillness, you also realize you don't need the things you were chasing. You might still want them, still work for them, still welcome them, but you're no longer defined by them. You're no longer waiting for success to give you permission to feel whole. You're already whole. And that's what makes the success that follows so much sweeter. It's not proof of your worth. It's an expression of it. So here's the question only you can answer. Who are you when you stop chasing? When you're not proving, performing, or pretending? When you're not driven by fear, but pulled by truth? That version of you, that still, clear, magnetic version, is the one the world is waiting for. Not the one who hustles harder, but the one who lets go with confidence, who walks with presence, who trusts the timing. Letting go isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning of becoming, of stepping into a life where success doesn't require you to run faster but to stand truer. And that's a life worth living. A life that calls to you, not from some far-off goal, but from deep within you right now.